Welcome back to another episode of Creating Magic. I'm Dani.
And I'm Paula.
And today we have a special interview for you. So, as some of you may have seen, the Harry Potter exhibition is now in New York City. And so Paula has been to Philadelphia and Atlanta.
Yes.
And I have been to all three in the US. They're now going to China next and are currently in Paris for the non-US tour.
That's freaking cool. New York is on my bucket list this year, but my pockets are just not.
Oh, we're getting tight.
I know. Because I still haven't seen the New York store. I want to see Cursed Child.
Same.
I'll go to the exhibition. It's there. So
yeah, I couldn't squeeze in Cursed Child, and they're all like walkable from each other.
Yeah,
But I was only there for 2 days, and I was with my mom and my sister. I was there with like a bunch of other Pottergrammers too. But since I was with like my mom and sister, I didn't want to be like, we're doing all the Potter things. So, and they're not theater people, so that wouldn't have gone well. I try.
You're so nice. You're nicer than me.
So, well, this was kind of a trip to visit family, and it just happened that the date was announced while I had already booked this trip, and I was like, well, they have, one of the nice things that I have been seeing is they have been making solid upgrades each time. The Mandrake has changed yet again.
All right.
More sturdy, more durable.
We like that.
The dragon's also different.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, see, now I have to go.
So I'm trying to think of what else had changed. Oh, they had like a extended Fantastic Beasts version because it was in New York.
Okay.
And there was the Time Turner from the Cursed Child was there.
Oh, that's so cool. So now I have to go. I don't have a choice.
So, but it was very exciting to see again and to see with new people. After seeing it like 3 times, the Franklin Institute setup is probably my least favorite. Yeah. I like it being in its own event space. It makes a difference.
Yeah. Do they also have in New York the food area like they did in Atlanta?
They do not have a food area.
Oh.
They did not have the space for the food area. This place wasn't equipped for that. So, but they have a pretty good store, even with the knowledge that the New York store it's like 12-minute walk from the exhibition. They have a solid store. I feel like there's more there, and there's more exclusive items that are starting to appear.
I want the mugs. I need all 4 house mugs.
Those mugs. I got one of their. I don't know if anyone's posted it. It's in my living room. I'll show you later. They have one of the mugs you put in the freezer.
Oh.
That's the butterbeer mug, and it's an exhibition exclusive. So I got it from my butterbeer shelf. Right,
nice.
So I think my butterbeer shelf is now bigger than my cube, so I need to move it. What I need is someone to go to Universal Japan and get me that tankard mug.
Well, you have a bunch of people going, so
I know, but they probably have like a list 2 miles long.
I think if you ask, they're not going to tell you no. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'll have to.
You're not asking for them to bring you 10 things. It's just one butterbeer tankard.
I will try that. We do, knock on wood, have someone lined up to discuss Japan happenings once they return.
All right. I can't wait.
So I believe I have the person lined up. I don't want to say who it is.
Just in case.
Just in case. But so without further ado, this interview, Paula was not on this because it was during the workday, so I actually had to take my lunch break for this interview. This is with Tom Zaller, who is the president and CEO of Imagine Exhibitions, which is actually the organization that puts the exhibitions together. And so they're based out of Atlanta. He is actually one of the people that helped with the initial Titanic exhibition.
That is so cool.
Like the lineup he has. So this is from his LinkedIn of things he has worked on. Harry Potter exhibition, Hunger Games, Jurassic World, Downton Abbey, Real Bodies, Dinosaurs in Motion,
Oh,
Star
I've seen
Trek.
Real Bob.
Like, these aren't small IPs, and it's worldwide. They also handle the international exhibitions. It's not just the one
Wow,
here. Yeah.
that is
Um,
so cool.
so it was really cool to talk to him. He was actually very interested on the fact that we've seen it so many times and what we thought with each one.
Okay.
So that is what you're going to hear now. All right. So today we are here with Tom. Tom, why don't you give us an introduction of who you are and what you do with the Harry Potter exhibition?
Sure. So my name's Tom Zaller. I'm the president and CEO of Imagine Exhibitions. And I started Imagine in 2009. So whatever that is, 14 years ago, I guess. And before that, I was doing exhibitions since 1998. And before that, I was in live entertainment, touring with bands and shows and things. So I kind of grew up in the entertainment world and found myself, cut my teeth doing exhibitions on the Titanic exhibition, which was I sort of think of as the original immersive experience because we created rooms and we had original objects and we told stories and we had music and we had media and we had actors and we had this and that and sort of this something I fell in love with coming out of the live entertainment world. And then I was fortunate to be involved with many, many different tremendously successful and interesting projects for many years. And so I started getting more involved in the sort of non-museum related work in the mid 2000s, where I started licensing different properties. So when I started Imagine, the first license we had was with Rovio to create an Angry Birds exhibition, and then we were hired by Lionsgate to create a Hunger Games exhibition, and then we licensed. We were fortunate enough that Universal Studios approached us to create a Jurassic World exhibition, and then Universal Studios International, retained us to build a Downton Abbey exhibition. So I kind of all of these, I think, in my way, sort of culminated up to the pinnacle of now, which was when I got the call from Warner Brothers to say, hey, we're, wanting to create a new immersive experience exhibition for Harry Potter. And I was like, what? Okay. I mean, it's a world that is so perfectly suited to do what we do. So I was humbled and inspired and excited to be even asked, let alone to be granted the license to create to work with such an amazing brand. So we are the designers of the show. We are the producers of the show. We are the marketing agency for this. We do all the marketing. We do the operations. We do the retail. We really internally touch every aspect of the exhibition. We have hundreds of partners all over the world and every city we go to that help us make it happen. But we are it's our responsibility. We work directly with Warner Brothers every day to ensure that we, stand to the quality and the standards that we both have set. And we hope that everybody comes and enjoys the exhibition.
When you work on them, are you just the US based, or were you also over all the global and European exhibitions?
So we have a global license, and we are responsible for all of the touring exhibitions for Harry Potter the exhibition. So we currently have, at the moment, running the North American exhibition, which opened in Philadelphia, went to Atlanta, and is now opening in New York City, and pretty soon, like less than a month. And we also launched the first European unit, which opened in Vienna, Austria in December, and is now open in Paris, both have been incredibly successful so far and wonderful experiences. And then we will be opening 2 other units in the next year in Asia and in South America. And all these units will continue to tour around the world, and hopefully be as wonderful.
And I really think it will be. I hear from so many people that they get really excited when they see that it's coming to their area. It's one of we've done episodes on both Philadelphia. We didn't do an episode on Philadelphia. We talked about it a little, but we did a full episode on Atlanta. And afterwards, we got so many questions of, is it worth the drive? Is it kid friendly? Things like that. So it is one that we get a lot of questions on. I have always wondered, because I have seen 2 of the exhibits. What is it like? Because you're taking an exhibit into different venues. Because like the Philadelphia exhibit was at the Franklin Institute, which is set up as like a museum. Atlanta, it was more of like an event center type space. How do you work with like doing so many different types of cities and different type of venues of fitting and making it feel so cohesive?
That's the hardest part. I mean, it really is what makes our business unique to other experiences where they're permanent. Because we have to, what I want, and I hope that you feel when you're in these spaces, is that it feels permanent. I want it to feel as if it's going to be there forever. But we have to pick it up every 4 or 6 months, whatever it is, and move it to the next place. So it requires a lot of adaptation. And the biggest challenges for us, and you being a fan and seeing it in multiple places, probably pick up on more than the average person does. But in certain areas, we have to have a lower ceiling, or we have to go up a different level, or the air conditioner affects this room in a certain way, or some things is the loading dock is not in the right location, or there's all kinds of logistical factors to it. But I think we designed first of all, this is what we do for a living, and I've been doing it for 25 years, and we have been in some challenging places. But I think that's what separates us from a sort of somebody who's in a permanent location, a retail store, or in a theme park, or in a someplace where you're pouring concrete and it's like there forever. Ours has to be able to move, and so in some areas, if I think that's where you can sense, like you get it. But I hope that the visitor, the average person, which is who we do this for, right? We do this for the average consumer who may be a super fan, or maybe a new to the world. We want them to feel like they've stepped inside of it. And I think that, in my humble opinion, I think that this show, we've been able to do that because we set the right budget, we set the right tone, and we picked the right venue so far to be able to achieve it.
Yeah. Because you've been involved with many franchises, did anything surprise you about diving into the Harry Potter franchise?
I mean, the franchise is perfect for what we do.
Yes.
So I think, and I'm very familiar with the world, and I've been to the parks and been to other experiences, and I'm really quite familiar with it. I think that there's a level of fandom within this world that's probably higher than anything I've ever experienced consistently. We've all been a part of events where people come dressed and they're excited about their connection to the brand, but I don't know that I've ever felt it as powerfully as I feel it, in Paris last weekend when we opened. But it's wonderful. I mean, it's I don't know that it surprised me, but I feel like it's invigorating because it's so constant. It doesn't fall off. It hasn't fallen off, right?
It's also so multi-generational. Is that sure? The youngest to the oldest? Like some franchises like have some of that, but I feel like in this franchise, like I am the perfect age for Harry Potter because the books came out when I was 11 and 12.
Yep.
So they've now been in my life more than they haven't.
Yeah.
So, but now we have new people learning it. And we've also like talked to a lot of people who are adults who didn't find the books until they were older or had kids of their own.
Yep. Yeah. It's, I think that one of the things and of course we learn a lot of that from our partners at Warner Brothers, in the way that there's so many entry points now into the world or into the franchise that we have to, when in creating the experience, we had to make sure that we could satisfy, I always say, you satisfy the waders and the swimmers and the divers, because you've got to satisfy that super fan, which is, by the way, not easy to do, because they know everything. that's where we leave little Easter eggs around that the new fan may not even recognize, may not be aware of, but we still want to try and, we're trying to please a lot of people.
And that, like you say that, and I was like, oh yeah, that is a question we got a lot is, can I bring my friend who is not the biggest fan, but I really want to go and we happen to be in the city?
Yeah. And what did you say?
It's usually, yes. Like if, especially like I have a theater background, I'm like, also if like people love, like for me, if I wasn't a Harry Potter fan, but I'm a costuming fan,
Right.
I want to see it because that interests me seeing like how things are made and created. Like this podcast was founded out of the fact that I loved seeing how things are created.
Yeah. Well, I'd say also what's interesting for me is that I talked to a lot of people in the show,
Mhm.
and we do see a lot of those multi-generational, and in those multi-generations you might have a grandmother or grandfather or niece or nephew or whomever who is not as familiar. But I've heard said to me multiple times, yeah, I didn't really know much about it, but after being here and seeing this, I'm going to go read the books. I want to watch the movie because I think it's twofold. One, the show, even if you're a theater lover and you go see a piece of theater, and the theater is, you don't even necessarily, it could be in a different language, it could be opera, right? But you appreciate the set and the quality or the attention to detail or the excitement of the crowd. Like there's something to that, to being a part of something. And so I think that there's not one particular part of it, but the overall experience, especially when you're with people who are super excited, then you get excited and you see why they're excited, and you hear a little tidbit and then you see a thing and you're like, I want to learn more. I think that's part of the magic.
And that it's interactive. So it's not, it has that. And I love that there's like been this bigger drive for like interactive experiences, because it's so much different from a museum, because you get to be part of that world. Like you get to pull the mandrake out of the pot and it yells at you. Like,
yeah. Well, that was a big part of our design. We thought when we sat down at the table and said, what are we going to do? I had a long list of notes of all my going back and rewatching the movies and rereading, and one of the cornerstones of it was about community. And so how do we, when you take, hundreds or thousands of people and put them in the same place together, how do you create, they already have a sense of community because there's, as you know, this group of individuals people have connections to various parts, various houses, for example. But how do you bring them together in a world where they're not necessarily talking to each other? So and then there was such a natural connection to gaining house points for your house. So now you're a little competitive, but a little cooperative, and we wanted to, our goal, so community was part of it. Personalization, we really wanted to make it so that you as a Hufflepuff or you as a Ravenclaw felt like you could come in and own your own, or you could also decide today, I want to be Gryffindor. And so or I want to have this Patronus, even though I know this is mine. You can experience in all those ways. And and I'm not saying it was every part of it's perfect, obviously, but I think we achieved that, right? Achieved that personal and that communal connection in the experience while having something that's beautiful and rich. So that was, I'm proud of what we did.
Yeah, no, and you should be. Like, it's an amazing exhibit. And the thing about it is, like, especially like for people who are taking like their kids and the kids are the fans, if they don't want to do like the interactive part and the kids want to, they can still really enjoy the exhibit for what it is without having to do the interactive things.
Right. Right. And also, I think a lot of parents, I'm a parent of 3, so I know when your kids are happy, you're happy. Yeah. And if your kids are having a good time, that's why you went, right?
Yeah.
It's even better, though. I think what I love seeing is that multi-generational family where you're together and you're exploring this stuff together, and the bigger fan is pointing out to the lesser fan or whatever. You're learning together. Because one of the things as a cornerstone to what I want to do in my life is not only create beautiful experiences that visually are stimulating and feel good, but also when you leave, something else. It's not necessarily always educational, but you're taking more away than you went with. And I think that this experience provides that.
I agree. And we all left with learning something, or just like enjoying it, or even like refresher to the fandom and appreciating it more.
Yeah.
Is there a specific exhibit that you personally love within it?
So you've been there, so I can tell you. I don't know
Yes.
I don't know how the listeners or watchers or whomever know it, but so to me, on the drawing board, as we started, there's a lot of first of all, for those who haven't been, I think there's 26 different rooms of things that happen, right? And so there's a lot. And there is, I like to start experiences where I want to set things up, because when you come into a place, you don't necessarily know what you're walking into. So I think we wanted to set the stage and remind everybody about what was happening, where you were going, what was about to take place. So the introductory film in our case was a pretty important part of the experience, because we sort of reminded you of the characters. We told you were going to be collecting house points. We have this little RFID chip that's on your wrist that you walk around with this little thing on your wrist, and that activates things and tells us who you are, and so on. And I also knew, back to our point about varying heights and complicated buildings, like I knew I couldn't always make the Great Hall. Like I didn't have endless ceiling heights and endless distance. So on the drawing board, my favorite was making the Great Hall, because we'd never done something quite that way, using multi-layered projection connected with the media and floating candles and all the things that we did. And I feel like that turned out really well. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And I was really happy. One of the other favorites I have was Hagrid's hut. I loved how we created Hagrid's hut, and I think it turned out beautifully. But the one that surprised me the most, that I think has become my favorite, and this is a little bit of a giveaway to those who haven't been. So can I do that? Is that fair?
Yeah. If our listeners also follow me and my co-host, and they've seen a lot of content. So most of the stuff they've seen.
So when you go into the experience, as you know, you get this little wristband, and you register your name, you pick your house, your Patronus, your wand, and the RFID is used through various experiences. So in the second room, you go through the introductory film. There's the doors open after, of course, you say Aloha Mora, and then the doors open. You walk into the next room, and it's a room that's filled with the Marauders map print on the floor, on the ceiling, on the walls. It's cool. You're like, oh, wow, check this out. And then you tap your wrist on this box, and you don't really know what's happening until somebody goes, look. And all of a sudden, your name is on the wall floating on the Marauders map. And it is such a simple, cool moment that, like, it's where that we have a lot of good technology, but we want it all behind the scenes. We don't want it to be the star. We want the show to be the star. But that to me was like, it's unexpected, it's personalized, it's totally in world, and you're like, I'm on the Marauders map. And of course, it's a great selfie moment. And then the whole screen folds away, and you get this little introductory show that I think, I love all the rooms, but that one has kind of become a favorite of mine in the experience.
So our listeners do know about that, because when we did Atlanta, my co-host is relatively new. Instead of putting my name, I put the podcast name, and it's actually how we announced her as my co-host. We did a photo with creating magic in the map of the with her and I in it.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, I love it. It's there's a lot of good things there, but that one stands out for sure.
Yeah, and then we're excited for it. So it opens May 19th in New York City.
Yep.
And then I'm sure tons of people will be going. Is there anything else that you would like to share with people?
Well, I would say to people, the experience has been tremendously, the reviews have been wonderful. It's been very successful. We've sold over 1 million tickets to the exhibition, which is crazy to think about. And so what happens because of that is a lot of people want to go. So I would say, if you're a fan, I would definitely don't expect to show up and just buy a ticket, because we have to do like timed entry, and it's quite popular. We want to give everybody a good experience. So we can't put endless amounts of people in. You can only pulse so many people through at a time. So I think I would say, plan in advance, just to make sure that the ticket is there, because we have lots of availability. So don't want to scare anybody off, but it's especially on the weekends. It's very popular.
And especially if people are traveling for it.
Right. And you don't want somebody to get there and be like, oh, it's sold out. So there's really easy to get online and see tickets, and it's in a calendar grid format. So you can pick your time slot, and there's like every half hour there's a slot. And if you say, I don't know which half hour, you can pay a little bit extra money and then go anytime you want to. Like, I think it's set up to be really user friendly. So, but I know when people, they really want to go, or if somebody's like, I don't like crowds, don't go on a weekend. Like go on a Monday
at 9 a.m.
Yeah, and it's and not during a holiday week.
Yeah,
but just I think that's I want everybody to have a great experience, and it's a very popular place. So
it is. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Tom.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, Nick.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that little interview we had. Make sure to find the time to go out to the exhibition, whether that's in New York City, in Paris, in China, or wherever it's headed next. It will be in New York City until October, so you have time to go see it, and also hit up Cursed Child and the Harry Potter New York store while you're doing it. And Paula, since we are now gamers, would you like to throw out your handles and where people can follow you?
I am on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch at Unconceivable. And then we just opened up a little Discord chat. So
right now it's very heavy in Dreamlight Valley.
It's very heavy Dreamlight Valley, but other things will come.
Yes, as we find games we like to play. So if people are interested in joining that. So Discord's links time out after so many days. Just send us a message and we'll get you a link to get invited to that. And then you can find me on Twitch and on Instagram at Mandrakes and Mischief. And then on the podcast, you can find Creating Magic Podcast on Instagram. And until next time, keep creating.
Idea to get us killed or worse, expelled.